Hey everyone, welcome back to Sacred Cards. Today I'm very excited to share with you my Dinomorphia deck profile. This deck first got released in Battle of Chaos and got support in the Dimension Force and Cyberstorm Access card sets. I've been looking forward to building the deck for a while now as I love dinosaur cards. I recently picked up the deck core from my favorite OTS store. Please be sure to check out the other deck profiles and content on my channel. I really appreciate all this support, and the channel has been growing far beyond what I'd ever imagined. So thank you very much, and subscribe to stay tuned for more profiles, updates, and content. So with all that said, I'll go through my deck list and try and explain the cards as best I can. Let's get into the deck profile. Starting off the monsters is 3 copies of Dinomorphia Therizia. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can set any Dinomorphia trap directly from the deck, and if your life points are 2,000 or less, it gains 500 attack. It also floats if it's destroyed. You can banish a trap from your graveyard to special summon a level 4 or lower Dinomorphia from your graveyard. Next up is 3 copies of Dinomorphia Diplos. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can send any Dinomorphia card from your deck to the graveyard. Then if your life points are 2,000 or less, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. If this card is destroyed, you can banish any trap from your graveyard to special summon a level 4 or lower Dinomorphia from the graveyard. Last monster I play in the deck is 3 copies of Wannabe. This is a great tech card for the deck because during the end phase you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard to excavate cards from the top of your deck up to the number of your opponent's unused spell or trap zones. Then you can set 1 excavated trap to your field and place the rest on the bottom of the deck. Well, that rounds out a very small monster count. Now onto the spells. Starting off with 3 copies of Pot of Duality. It's great to play a deck that utilizes this card because it lets you excavate the top 3 cards of your deck and add 1 to your hand, helping you dig for the cards you need. You can't special summon the turn you activate this, but it does let you set up with your normal summon to let you play during your opponent's turn with all your traps. Last of the spell cards is 3 copies of Fossil Dig. Now, you only play a few monsters in the main deck, so it's good to maximize on your copies of those cards. Fossil Dig will let you add any level 6 or lower dino from your deck to hand. Whether you need a copy of Therizia or Diplos, it gives you easy access to your normal summon. Well, that is it for the spells. Now, time for the traps. Starting things off with 3 copies of Dinomorphia Frenzy. This is my favorite trap in the deck because during your opponent's main phase, pay half your life points to fusion summon a Dinomorphia monster using 1 monster from your deck and 1 from your extra deck as fusion material. This card also has the effect that when your opponent activates a card or effect while your life points are 2,000 or less, you can banish this card from your graveyard and you take no effect damage from your opponent during this turn. The other fusion trap is 3 copies of Dinomorphia Domain. While picking up the deck core, this was the only card I had to settle for Megaton copies as they were all out of the Battle of Chaos secret rares, but they still look nice for now. During the main phase, pay half your life points to fusion summon a Dinomorphia monster using material from your hand, deck, or field. It also has the effect of Frenzy when your opponent activates a card or effect while your life points are 2,000 or less. You can banish this card and you take no effect damage from your opponent this turn. Next for the counter traps, I play 3 copies of Dinomorphia Intact. When a monster effect is activated while you control a Dinomorphia card, pay half your life points, negate that effect, and destroy that monster. Also, whenever you take battle damage this turn, it becomes half of whatever your life points are at the time. Plus, during damage calculation, if you would take battle damage, you can banish this card and you take no damage from that battle. Next is 2 copies of Dinomorphia Sonic. Oh. Similar to Intact, when your opponent activates a spell or trap card while you control a Dinomorphia monster, pay half your life points, negate the activation, and destroy that card. Then destroy a monster you control. Also, during damage calculation, while your life points are 2,000 or less, if you would take battle damage, you can banish this card and you take no damage from that battle. Now this next card might be debatable, but I really like playing 2 copies of Dinomorphia Reversion. If you control a Dinomorphia fusion monster, which you always likely will, pay half your life points and banish 1 counter trap. This effect becomes that counter trap's effect. Even your copies of Solemn Judgment. So yeah, spoiler. Like the other counter traps, during damage calculation, while your life points are 2,000 or less, you can banish this card from the graveyard to prevent you from taking damage from that battle. For the last Dinomorphia card I play in the main deck, 2 copies of Dinomorphia Alert. Alert can allow you to pay half your life points, special summon up to 2 Dinomorphia cards in the graveyard whose levels equal 8 or less. Like the other normal traps, when your opponent activates a card or effect while your life points are 2,000 or less, you can banish this card to prevent effect damage for that turn. For the other traps, I play 3 copies of... Oops, made a mistake here. 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. This is a great card for the deck because once again you can pay half your life points to negate a summon or the activation of a spell trap card and destroy it. As mentioned before, you can reuse this effect with your copies of Dinomorphia Reversion. Next is 3 copies of Soul of the Supreme King. This is another great tech card for the deck, because you can pay half your life points to special summon Supreme King's Zed Arc from your extra deck. Its effects are negated and is returned to the extra deck at the end of the next turn, allowing you to use it again. It also has the effect that when your opponent activates a spell card or effect, you can banish this card and 1 Supreme King Zed Arc to special summon 1 Pendulum Dragon, 1 Xyz Dragon, 1 Synchro Dragon, and 1 Fusion Dragon monsters from your hand, deck, extra deck, or graveyard. This gives you several new monsters on the board. Next up is 2 copies of Ferret Flames. This deck makes great use of this card because if the combined attack of all monsters your opponent controls is higher than your life points, make your opponent shuffle their monsters back into the deck so the combined attack is less than or equal to your life points. I love that word, make. Last 2 cards in the main deck is 2 copies of Trap Tracks. This card lets you destroy a monster you control and then set a trap from your deck that can be activated this turn. I like this card better than Trap Trick for this deck because it destroys a monster that will float into another, and you'd rather not banish your traps and use their graveyard effects instead. Well, that is it for the main deck. Now on to the extra deck. Starting things off, I play 3 copies of Dinomorphia Rex Term. While this card is on the field, your opponent cannot activate monster effects of monsters with attack greater than or equal to your life points. Plus quick effect, pay half your life points. The attack of all monsters your opponent controls become equal to your life points. And if this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon a level 6 or lower Dinomorphia monster from your graveyard. Next is 3 copies of Dinomorphia Kentragina. This 4,000 attack monster does lose attack equal to your life points, but has the amazing ability to quick effect, banish a Dinomorphia normal trap, and that card's effect becomes this card's effect. So technically, you can use your copy of Frenzy to fusion summon this card, then copies of Frenzy's effect again to get a copy of Rex Term as well. Plus, if this card is destroyed, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Dinomorphia from your graveyard. Last of the engine cards is 3 copies of Dinomorphia Stealth Bergia. Love the artwork on this card, and it has the great effect of when your life points are 2,000 or less, you don't have to pay life points to activate trap cards or your monster's effects. It also has the quick effect that when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can inflict damage equal to that monster's original attack. Also, it has the effect of when it is destroyed, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Dinomorphia from the graveyard. Now, last of the fusion monsters is one copy of Supreme King Zed Arc. You make this card with your copies of Soul of the Supreme King, so its effects will be negated, but it provides a huge 4,000 attack and defense, and will return to the extra deck the turn after it is summoned. Although, if it does get destroyed and you place it in the Pendulum Zone, then Fusion, Synchro, and Xyz monsters your opponent controls can't activate their effects. Plus, if your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand, you can destroy that card. I may consider bumping this card up to 2, but I am testing 1 copy for now. Next up, I play 2 Xyz monsters in 1 copy of Vulzar Logia and 1 copy of Vulzar Dolka. Logia can detach 2 materials to negate a summon or spell trap card effect. Dolka can detach a material to negate a monster effect and destroy that card. Once again, that is not once per turn. The last 3 cards are my targets for Soul of the Supreme King. 1 copy of Clearwing Fast Synchro Dragon, 1 copy of Sky Galloping Gaia, the Dragon Champion, and 1 copy of Gaia Dragon, the Thunder Charger. I didn't have many options for these targets, so it's what I'm working with for now. Clearwing Fast Dragon can quick effect target a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck, change its attack to 0 and negate its effects. Gaia the Dragon Champion can change the battle position of a monster when it declares an attack. Gaia Dragon the Thunder Charger can inflict piercing battle damage if it attacks a defense position monster. Well, that is it for the deck profile. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if there's anything you like or didn't like, feel free to leave me a comment telling me what you think. Be sure to like the video if you did, and subscribe for more content. Thank you for your support. Have a great day.